Hello and welcome to Ryno's Ravens Review. Be sure to like and subscribe and you'll be notified when I drop videos. Next week, and I know I haven't covered, this review yet, but next week's the London game, so schedule, at least the NFL schedule is a little wonky, but definitely may want to be notified. Hopefully you want to be notified when my preview show drops. Make sure you watch it before the game. It's going to be an earlier game this week. All right, as you can see, I am on Ravens.com. But before I get into the stats, take a look at some of the notes I have written down. Ravens did get a few key pieces back from injury. Say Ronnie Stanley. Ronnie Stanley did play left tackle, and McCary moved over to the right side. Though McCary did leave with an injury, which I will update later on. But Falalele, assuming I'm pronouncing that right, ended up replacing McCary, which don't think Falalele. Wow, I knew I was going to get tongue-tied on that. Really has the speed to be able to backpedal enough to stop those Steeler pass rushers in Hightower and Watt, and really anybody else that they want to put on the edge on the other side of Watt. That didn't help. Not that really what would have helped the Ravens was, not dropping passes, or maybe not trying some weird ass random trickeration bullshit at the end of the half. There's 19 seconds left in the half, and you want to line the offense up to try to draw the Steelers off sides instead of kicking the field goal? Why? What's the point of that? I mean, it wouldn't have been about clock and running clock down, because you could have just... what is the offense going to do? You want to try to draw them off sides? And maybe get a first down? Okay. Yes, it's hindsight, and now we know it was a stupid play call or a stupid idea by a head coach. But what could the offense have done? I mean, and no, it really wasn't about running down time, because the clock wasn't moving. And even if the clock was moving, you just let the clock run all the way down and then accept the 5-yard penalty and kick the field goal. I mean, Justin Tucker is going to make it either way. Or that 5 yards necessarily isn't going to be what made the difference. Not having good special teams blocking, another play, would affect that. And yes, Linderbaum said something at, in post-game interviews where he thought that, who was it, a linebacker or a safety from Pittsburgh, was when he was jumping up and hopping around the line, thought that he jumped in the neutral zone, so if he snapped it, then Ravens would get a penalty. But at the same time, why was your offense even out there? Did that mean it just literally doesn't make any sense? Take the points. But again, that wasn't the only thing that cost the Ravens the game. And as far as the wide receivers and other people they got back, Beckham was able to return to duty. Remember who the hell was missing? God, they had half the team missing. Marcus Williams and Marlon Humphrey on the defense. Nice boost for them. But at the same time, Beckham coming back, it was nice and all, but how many drops were there? Wow. That's really something. And it's not even like it was Beckham or it was Flowers or it was Aguilar. It was all of them. Anders had a drop touchdown. Aguilar had a drop touchdown. Flowers had a drop touchdown. And not to mention all the other drops along the way, where Lamar, surprisingly enough, seems to really have improved his passing accuracy, at least in certain cases, and was hitting these wide receivers in the hands. Maybe that's what it was. Wide receivers are just so shocked that Lamar Jackson was throwing the ball on target that they didn't know what to do. Oh my God, Lamar threw it right where I needed it. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to catch this ball or what? What am I supposed to do? Oh, yes, you're supposed to catch the ball. Now, that little fade pattern kind of thing in the end zone where Lamar threw an interception that maybe necessarily wasn't that accurate, but that was really the thing. Like, the defense gets you a turnover, or I guess it was more the special teams. Was it a punt coverage or a kick coverage? I can't remember which one. But it was one of those. The one tackler got the guy, held him up a little bit, and then the other one came in and punched the ball loose, and then here was, and I don't remember the player's name, forgot it already, just like scooped it up and was able to run down to the 5-yard line. And here you are, Lamar Jackson on your 5-yard line. How do you not get in the end zone? First of all, why are you not trying to run the ball in the end zone? You've been running the ball well all day. Why are you not lining up? Gus, in certain packages and personnel, you never really know which one's going to work. But sometimes you got to ride the horses that got you there. Like, say, Ricard and Edwards in the backfield. Maybe try that. Just straight up the middle. Just run it straight down their throat. What's his name? Hayward, man. Defensive tackle for the Steelers. He was not there. So the Steelers were a little thin in their interior anyway. With their good outside linebackers, which the Steelers usually tend to go after. Steelers were susceptible up the middle. Could have tried something like that. I don't really know. Some kind of weird other underhand shovel. I think I'm Brett Favre, even though my name's Lamar Jackson, shoveling it to Edwards. Didn't work out well. I mean, it works well for, worked for Brett Favre, and it works well for Mahomes and Kelsey. Not exactly working well for the Ravens. And I don't like Zay Flowers' end arounds. I get that it can work. I really do get it can work. And Zay Flowers is a good receiver to use that with. But after so many times of running that play, there is that old phrase, going to the well once too often. I think the Ravens offense is there at that point. They should get away from that for a little bit. So, while you would kind of like to give Todd Monken a little bit of leeway, being is that he's new to the NFL, he's new to this team, and he's new to the Ravens' philosophy of football. And the Ravens are trying out some new things with some wide receivers, right? I mean, how many wide receivers they got on this team? Bateman, Flowers, they drafted. Aguilar, Beckham, bringing in free agents. It's a nice wide receiver room, but you don't practice enough with some of these guys. It can be hard to get some of your rhythm and timing, but I think you got to go with a little bit smarter play calling. What happened with 5 minutes left in the game? Oh, that was the interception. So not putting up points with that when Lamar threw that interception. That was a good. Oh, speaking of TJ Watt, there were instances where whoever was trying to block TJ Watt got some help with a chip from the backfield, or just having a tight end or Ricard line up on the line and just block him, like almost like an offensive lineman. But there were a few instances, especially late in the game, when you got to throw the ball, it didn't look like there was any help blocking TJ Watt at all. Steelers got a fumble late in the game. I guess it was Hightower that actually forced the fumble, and Watt scooped up the fumble. But at the same time, there was a few other sacks that TJ Watt had. It's like, where is the help on the outside for some of these guys? TJ Watt is very good. That's probably not even a strong enough word. He, like I think I said in the previous show, he's one of the best pass rushing linebackers in the league. I don't think he's maybe the best yet. I'm not going to say he's better than Lawrence Taylor yet anyway. Not that he doesn't have the ability to get there. You can't let him beat you. And yes, because the Steelers go out and they get another guy, Hightower on the other side, well, you got to chip him. You got to chip him all the time, almost. If you want to be able to throw the ball down the field, or if you want to be able to throw the ball in general, you got to get your man time. Of course, at the same time, maybe you teach Lamar how to step up in the pocket a little bit. Lamar definitely seems to want to take bigger drops. He thinks maybe that will work. That's not going to work. That's only going to make them get to you faster. That is why they call it a pocket. There's a pocket. You push these guys out, right? Then you step up. If you drop to the bottom of that little circle, you're right in their path. You got to step up. Now, that would mean that Linderbaum and the guards need to hold their ground. But I get that it's hard. I mean, it's Steelers defense. They're going to put pressure on you. That's really their philosophy. That being said, I'm not going to put all the blame on the offense this time. The defense does deserve some of their blame. Though the defense did make some stops. I think the defense played better than the tape might tell you. They had several tackles for loss. Actually, let me go to the stat page. This is NFL.com. This is the stat page of this game. We'll talk about some of the... I mean, you look, Matabike, Queen, half a sack. Urban, a sack. Arthur Millette, a sack. Came in blitzing almost unblocked. Much like Hamilton was doing earlier, maybe a few games ago. Not that Hamilton wasn't doing it, but using somebody else in the same role. So then let's say, Pittsburgh sees, Hamilton's up here in the line. Make sure we get that guy. Make sure we get that guy. Not thinking about, Millette over here on the other side. You like that kind of disguising of the blitz, maybe. Using somebody who's had good performance this year as kind of a decoy. And several other tackles for loss. Kyle Hamilton had 2 of them himself. Well, that's about it right there. They had several pass breakups. But what the defense didn't do well was cover. Is it George? It's George Pickens. George Pickens, wide receiver for the Steelers. With Humphrey back, he is kind of labeled as your number 1 corner. But the problem is, and I don't know if it's part of it is just the injury, or maybe Humphrey just doesn't have the speed. Doesn't have the speed to cover some of these wide receivers. Some of these wide receivers are very young, even, they're young by NFL standards, but some of these corners, even like Humphrey, I mean, he's getting kind of old in football years. What's he been around? 6, 7 years now? Some of these wide receivers that have only been around for 2 years can run much faster than he can. And it seemed like a lot of the catches that Pickens was making, he was one-on-one. Like where, and again, maybe you want to play a zone, but you got to be a little closer to Pickens. That's who they're throwing to more often than not. Yeah, Humphrey doesn't really have the speed. Or at least he didn't show it in this game. And to a certain extent, it is because he's coming off of surgery. So, no, the defense didn't do a great job at covering a key wide receiver when they really needed to. But at the same time, it is hard for a defense to cover some of these wide receivers. Everybody wants to be a wide receiver, at least, more than corners, so the more athletic talent is going to go to wide receiver route. But that's just the way it goes. How you combat that is do the same thing on offense yourself. Maybe if an offense stops fumbling the ball, look at this category right here. Aguilar fumbled, though they didn't lose it that time anyway. Justice Hill, fumble. Lost fumble. Lamar Jackson, lost fumble. You just can't put the ball on the ground that many times. You can't. You can't do that. And I will say that last fumble, what did the defense do? And this was during the, what was there like, which drive was it? Would have been this drive here, this fumble here. There was still time left on the clock. Does it say what actual time was left on the clock? It looks like the drive started around 1:17, 1:19 left in the game, and the fumble happened around 1:12. A minute and a quarter left, and you give up a fumble. That's not great. But at the same time, look at where Pittsburgh started with their field position there. Baltimore 18. They're 18 yard. They're already in the red zone. It says field goal. 4 plays. Ravens defense only held their opponent to a field goal. That's a win. In that battle, in that moment, that is a win. And that is a big win for your defense because, as you can see the final score up there, Baltimore Ravens 10, Pittsburgh Steelers 7. You still had a minute. And yes, that's not that much time. But you still had an opportunity to go down the field and try to put up a touchdown. And then either decide to tie it or go for the win. So, the defense kept giving you chances as an offense. But as an offense, you didn't catch the ball. You threw an interception in the end zone when the defense got you the ball. Okay, yeah, I guess it was technically the special teams got you the ball. We'll say that. In the red zone, you couldn't come up with it. And then you put the ball on the ground. And didn't do a good job of pass blocking late in the game here. Some of this is coaching. Some of this is, coaching as far as, some of the play calls that Monken had. The weird-ass decision in front of the just before the half with that not trying for a field goal, which was weird and maybe stupid. And then at the end of the game, where's the help on the outside for these pass rushers? Chip them somehow. I don't know. Do something. Pittsburgh is going to send people after the quarterback. So maybe you don't need to send 4 or 5 guys out and around. Maybe you can get somebody open by just sending 3 out. Maybe. It's possible. And at the same time, defense, where's the help over the top for against Pickens? So, I mean, it was kind of a team loss. Summarize this up. The Ravens really lost because they didn't coach well. They didn't catch passes. They didn't hold on to the ball. They didn't cover wide receivers well. That's it. It was a very disappointing game. To have all that stuff go down the way it did. Wow. I mean, time of possession. Where is time of possession? I want to see these numbers. Time of possession was actually kind of balanced. Interesting. Kind of surprising that there was only 5 penalties, which is odd. But at the same time, this time of possession here, it doesn't break it down, does it? Does it do it by half? I'm kind of curious as... I feel like the Ravens moved the ball pretty well in the first half. And that's where a lot of the time of possession came from. Well, here's 2.5 minutes. Here's 7.5 minutes. So what is that, about 10 minutes? Here's another 3 minutes. So you got about 13 minutes right there. Here's another 2.5. So that's like 15 minutes. You got a bulk of your time of possession in the first half. Where was it in the second half? That really tells you everything right there. I mean, that's the story of the Ravens these past couple years. Come out of the gate really looking pretty good. They hold on to the ball. They move the ball. They eat up some clock. Second half, it all goes away. It is almost like that half comes, the other team kind of maybe changes up their game plan or whatnot, and then the Ravens don't know what to do. I think this is going to do it for this edition of Ryno's Ravens Review. Ryno's Ravens Preview. Take a look at the schedule here. Going back to Ravens.com. Technically, it's a road game for the Ravens and a home game for the Tennessee Titans. Even though they're playing from Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Okay. In London at 9:30 our time. Preview show will be, I'm thinking Saturday. Try to get it out early. But be sure to like and subscribe. And you'll be notified when videos when videos drop. Videos much like this preview show. I am the Angry Ryno. Fly, Ravens, fly.